Now, finally, where is he? Where is he? Come out. Come out with your hands up, Baldo Ham. It's time. Nicholas Rekieta, or as the Daily Mail says, YouTube lawyer. he he sits on the Bar Association for YouTube. His jurisdictions are Minnesota and YouTube. He can handle cases in the YouTube Court of Law. YouTube lawyer Nick Rekieta, who shot to lowercase I internet fame in the Depp Heard trial, is arrested along with a wife for drugs, guns, and endangering kids, as cops say he had white powder on nose and video. Nick Rekieta was arrested for drug and gun possession and child neglect. He is best known for posting legal commentary videos in high-profile cases. And then there's the mugshots. I like how April was mentioned in this at some point, but it's not explained that he's like fucking her and that he's like a hot wife in their relationship. They use this wonderful picture. If you hot link this image on Twitter, the picture of him jerking off is the one that is used on stream. There's a couple links to like his videos and stuff. I don't know. This is the most high profile coverage of his arrest so far. In the Balldo bunker, things are looking pretty grim. As I mentioned last stream, the front lines have normalized or solidified, and now there are very clearly sides derived in this conflict. On Team Balldo, there is Ethan Van Sciver, also Frog on the Kiwi Farms. Apparently, I don't follow this, but I see this mentioned quite a bit on Twitter. Ethan tried to post on the Kiwi Farms like a long time ago, and like people were receptive and nice to him. But then after he turned on like Eric July, people became a lot more critical of him. And months later, he tried to join back and like control the narrative around him, and everyone just took huge diarrhea shits all over him, like IDub style. And then he left again. And all these posts that he drained on the Kiwi Farms get circulated a lot now because he apparently made a fool of himself. I have no opinion on this. I just know he's on Team Balldo right now. Ethan and Cyber says, how come kids would rather wear the same clothes than do their own laundry? There are teenagers in the Rekieta brood. They're not stepping up. I realized there was a nanny until there wasn't. Privileged kids, do your wash. So Ethan's perspective on the Rekieta child neglect thing is like, he doesn't owe you clean clothes, idiot kids. He has a 16-year-old in the house. Why isn't he mopping it up? Why isn't he doing the laundry? Come on. You got when mommy and daddy want to do blow and potentially heroin and drink continuously and sleep in a Xanax stupor and invite hot wives over to fuck in their Saint Michael's cross or whatever. It's the kid's job to learn how to do laundry. Very hot take. I will give it credit. This is a pretty unique perspective I had not heard before. So this is definitely an independent voice in the LawTube sphere, for sure. There's another quote. Ethan says, kids who enjoyed extreme privilege, parentheses, a nanny or housekeeper, and then that privilege was revoked and life got complicated for them, they weren't helpless. No kids are. This is true. I have heard stories of 3-year-old African children who were orphaned by genocide and civil war in Rwanda, somehow managed to walk several miles to like a UNICEF camp. So it is true that kids can autonomously make ends meet and survive without adult supervision. Generally speaking, that's not desirable. That's not that's not something most people want for their kids. I'll phrase it like that. There's also the thought that the nanny and housekeeper wasn't a privilege for the children, because there's a baseline level of responsibility owed to the children, and the nanny isn't there as a benefit to them, but rather to the parents. Like you have a dad who works all the time doing streams, multi-day streaming marathons, and then you have a mom who has to drive kids out to faraway places, and you have 5 kids. Well, then a nanny and housekeeper is a benefit to them so that their earning potential is not impacted by their children. It's not usually considered a luxury of the children themselves. I don't know. Maybe I'm being crazy pills here. Could be me. I don't know. I am crazy. This is good logic. This is not Ethan Van Sciver, as far as I'm aware, but let's see what he has to say.
Complaining of being hungry and dirty, and it's like if their clothes aren't being changed in a number of days, well, that tells me they're not being bathed or washed, and it breaks my heart. So
Right. Although, I mean, I'll tell you right now, when you talk about being bathed or being washed, you're a newborn, you're a mother of a newborn, right? 6-year-olds bathe themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's like you say,
do
get in
they
the,
really?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
just throw
yeah,
them a sponge and some soap and be like,
yeah. You're like,
see
go,
you in
go
an hour.
yeah, yeah. By the time they're 4 or 5 years old, they're bathing themselves. So as far as their failure to hygiene, I mean, yeah,
Is a
if,
5 year old really gonna be like, sorry, mom, I gotta go shower, be right back? Like, I
and this
think
is
most kids are gonna let themselves be like, they're not
yes,
gonna
they
rush
will.
to bathe themselves. They're gonna embrace
Yeah,
filth.
yeah.
Complaining.
I love how every time LawTube talks about children, you have people like this good logic retard and Nick Rekieta, and then there's like a woman, and he's like, yeah, a 6-year-old will autonomously decide to clean his own clothes and shower if he's not a spoiled, lazy brat, of course. And then Chrissy Meyer, who's a woman and understands children, just says like, that's not true. And he's like, nah, trust me, just trust me on this. And it reminds me of the time that Rekieta was making this really, really awful joke. This was a couple months ago, so he still had some friends left. I want to say that Chrissy Meyer was there and Megan Fox. I think it was Chrissy Meyer, and this was the last time she came on the show. Is that Rekieta was talking about a case, and I might correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like a situation where a girl had been raped so badly that she was now incontinent, and Rekieta made some really weird joke about that was like sexualizing this like incontinent child, and Chrissy Meyer was just like in a state of visible disgust and shock that he had said this. The diaper, yeah, it was the diaper thing. I can't remember the context of the joke, but it was like this absolutely unhinged. Oh, it was Megan Fox. Okay, sorry, it was a different LawTube woman. Yeah, God, I can't remember what it was. It was there was like a really high profile case that involved a young girl who wore diapers or something. And he made a joke about like anal or something. It was like a really, really disgusting joke to make about a vulnerable child. And Megan Fox was just like in literal shock and disgust, like visible on her face. Like, what the fuck are you saying, retard? Um, yeah. So it's like anytime a woman on these shows is like exposed to how these guys think about kids, they're like, are you like retarded? Are you like unwell? Do you need to be in a prison cell? Do you need to be killed? What's wrong with you? Cool. Chrissy sweeps for her pedo boss Anthony Cumia. Okay. What does that have to do with this? It's so weird when it's like she's right when someone's like objectively correct about something that a 6-year-old doesn't wash themselves, and you go, she's right. There's always some retard who's like, don't you know she's bad? Who cares? She's right. In this instance, she's right. I don't give a fuck who she is. She could sweep up for Saddam, Hitler, Obama. I don't give a fuck. She's right. That does not change. Get over it. Now, Rekieta's now circle is apparently this good logic guy. His attorney Robert Barnes, or potentially his attorney Robert Barnes, Ethan Van Sciver, and Ethan Ralph and Juju. Ethan Ralph says exclusive. The Keel stream have the first solo interview with Nick Rekieta when he comes back to streaming. He announced this on the 28th. It has not happened yet. Now, Rekieta kind of indicated on locals that he would like to go back to streaming like as soon as possible, and it hasn't happened yet. And people are very curious as to why. And there is a potential reason for this. Actually, this is the um. I'll get to that. I'll explain my theory on that. But yeah, Rekieta has apparently promised Ethan the first exclusive interview. But meanwhile, in the Balldo bunker, in on Signal, Rekieta has apparently like locked down to the locked down his inner circle, and he's like, everybody except Legal Mindset, um, Yellow Frog, etc. Good logic. Ethan Ralph, leave the room. And they're all like fidgeting and sweating in the room. And he pulls off his glasses. Hands are shaking. And I was like, "Das wird ein Befehl that Ethan Ralph would get the first interview. I told them it was government overreach and they didn't listen." And just like yelling, screaming. Chrissy Meyer, Megan Fox on the outside listening to it. And crying, comforting themselves as Rekieta just starts screaming. Legal Mindset was reading the chat as it was going live. Like he was actively responding to Legal Mindset telling him to shut up by just talking to him. And it goes like this. I think this adds a lot to the stream chat. Oh, I see. These are like 4K phone screenshots. That's why they don't fucking load. No, each one's a megabyte. 1.5 megabyte. 1.5 megabytes for a fucking screenshot of a fucking text message because it's on a 4K resolution phone. Yeah, please don't bother to shrink these images at all before you throw them up on my fucking website. Please. I beg of you. I need every pixel. Oh my god. Maybe if I insert them as thumbnails, I'll be able to fucking read them. Give me a second. Jersh's pipe is so tiny. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, my internet pipe. I'm like, are you saying that I have a narrow urethra? Like Hank Hill? That's a unique one. Alright, I will continue where I left off. Rekieta is in the Fuhrer bunker and is saying, "Cool, I'm literally talking about a bullshit neglect report from a specifically vindictive person that is quite literally the opposite of truth. I am not talking about anything else at all. I'm not saying anything else in here. Talk to me in DMs. Oh, and no guns were ever discharged in this home. I don't even own a 22. I haven't fired any of my guns since moving from my other home to here, been about 5 years, and all of them were locked. Handguns in a safe, AR had a lock through the receiver." So Legal Mindset pointed out that these are all evidentiary statements of fact, which means that they can be used to impeach him in court. Like, for instance, Rekieta says that he doesn't own a 22, but I'm pretty sure that the round was actually a 22-3, which is completely different. I was informed. I had assumed it was a 22 LR, but it's a 22-3, which is the other kind of round that an AR that can fire a 5.56 can also fire a 2.23, if I'm correct. So him saying that he doesn't own a 22, but that's not what his possession was. I'm pretty sure that he has a 6 hour AR platform which can fire a 5.56 and a 2.23. It's been a while since I did any gun studies, but I'm pretty sure that's what I'm talking about. So when he says that I don't have a 22, that's besides the point. Nobody's saying that you have a 22. They're saying that you have spent 2.23 rounds, which can be fired from your 6 hour 5.56 AR platform. Hopefully I nailed that, because I think what I just said makes sense, but I don't know. Everyone always gets mad at me. So he also says that he never fired this gun, and that's also impeachable because there are streams of him saying to people on his stream that he did use his AR to put down wild animals. He was talking about killing a bunch of raccoons and stuff on his property. So he's saying, I don't own a 22. Well, you weren't being charged with that. And he says, I've never fired this gun. Well, you've said on stream that you were killing animals with it. So that's wrong. You're lying. That's going to complicate your defense. And your defense is and the defense in this particular instance is extremely important because the gun charge is the minimum 3 years charge. Like, if he gets convicted on that, it's a minimum 3-year sentence. Like, it's bad. He also says, my dad was helping with the driving the other day for our kids' education and extracurricular activities. He tallied it up 80 miles a day on average. I don't care what people think about almost anything. The kid shit is bullshit. I am pretty sure I know who reported that, and they have specific animus towards me. The first activity I missed for my kids was the day I was in jail. I also think that this thing, he's saying that he never DUI'd because his father was helping him drive around. I think there was another string that someone had clipped that like specifically debunked that claim, which is also bad because this is going to be used against him in court. Uh, and then what's really weird is that this claim that the person who reported them is like had animus against them. Four people, four people had reported. I think three reported to the pastor, and one had reported, in addition to the pastor, to the police department their concerns. So you had three members of congregation that dealt directly with Rekieta and his kids, reporting that he did, and this was exactly what I said on stream, that my prediction was, is that someone in the congregation had saw him DUI and reported this to the pastor, their concerns, and that's exactly what happened. One of the preschool teachers said that I saw him drop off his kids while completely shit-faced, and what the fuck. And then the other person from outside his congregation who reported him was Kayla's sister, his stepsister, and the aunt, the maternal aunt of his children, reported to the police her concerns about the welfare of the children, which is like, I mean, you can say that like maybe one person in the church, maybe the pastor himself had animus. Are you saying that Kayla's sister hates you and is out to get you in addition to the evil people from the church? Okay, buddy. He says, shockingly not pulled over, no cited for DUI ever, never even questioned for DUI ever. Anyway, whatever issue exists for me, and I'm not admitting to shit during my case, obviously, I figured a friend of mine would maybe realize that a friend of mine. That's what he did. He pulls this shit with me too. Before the shower call and during the shower thing, or sorry, shower text, it wasn't a call. He was like, I just thought maybe a friend of mine would want to know, like, hey, the hedonism stuff ain't true. Drexel never did nothing wrong. He a good boy. I just thought people on the internet can say what they want to say. I just thought that maybe a friend would want to know. It's like, I'm looking at the evidence. The evidence is very self-explanatory to me. But he's talking about this with legal mindset. I just thought that a friend of mine would maybe realize that my children have never been neglected or in danger. But I guess that small courtesy is too much. Like, yeah, when the police report is pretty fucking concrete. He says, no, you fucking idiot. No one sees me drive. I know it's hard to see someone when they're driving 88 miles per hour for hours after a bender. Again, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you referring to a speeding ticket? Do you know what track marks are? Retard. I've never done an IV drug in my life. You're doing cocaine at 8 a.m. with your kids watching cartoons in the living room, says somebody. The yellow is somebody else. That's not Rekieta. He says, what the fuck are you talking about? 8 a.m., homie, I'm usually driving home at 8 a.m. and about to go to sleep. So that's even, like, worse. Because he's, like, saying, I spent up all night and I'm driving home for some reason. Like, I'm coming home from the M-Halt home. And my kids are already awake and having to feed themselves. Like, in the perfect situation, the 6-year-old is in the shower taking his bath. The 16-year-old is breaking out the SpaghettiOs for everybody sitting at the table. And dad's driving home after a night-long bender and swinging party with the M-Holtz, high on cocaine, driving 88 miles per hour or whatever. If you think my kids ever went hungry or neglected, kill yourself. And he says, I don't know what to believe. You've become a junkie, and they're not the most honest people out there. And he says, I've been on the stream with you where you were too intoxicated to read super chats for hours. I never thought your kids went hungry. He says, I stopped that because it was getting bad. You need to admit that you have a problem. Become a junkie. Wow. Okay. Thanks, Flash, which is the guy that was censored. So for whatever reason, they didn't censor the name, even though he's talking. So he's outright denying it, even though there are, like, at this point, all the police reports and all four members of the congregation and his own stepsister had concerns about neglect. And his whole thing is, like, if you think I abused my kids or whatever, or neglected them, you should just die. And he's banning anybody in locals talking about this, by the way. I think that this is the appropriate time. Let me skim through this. Oh, no, I'll get to that. Okay. So one of the things that happened between last stream and this stream is that Rekieta posted bail. To be clear, Kayla and Nick Rekieta, were out. They were out on personal reconnaissance, which means that they said on a promise, we're going to obey the rules of the court. We're not going to pay money. We're just going to walk out. We promise to come back and do everything right. And part of this means that they have to do P tests and stuff. They have to. They have like a parole officer, I'm pretty sure, that like makes sure that they're clean and staying clean and can randomly visit their house and inspect it and stuff. The other offer, and I explained this during the hearing, and a lot of people got mad at me and said that I was wrong because it was clunkily worded. But he was offered either conditional bond on recognizance only, as in you go out for free, but you also do these programs, or unconditional bond for $50,000. So it's an either or thing. There were a couple conditions. I think not drinking applied to both. Not drinking and remaining lawful was like a condition of bond for both. But if you did the $50,000, you don't have to do the P testing, mainly. That's the big one. Rekieta posted bond for himself, the $50,000. So Kayla has to be clean, is subject to piss test, is subject to random search. Nick is not, because he paid $50,000 for it, which is interesting. So it indicates to me that Rekieta does not intend to stay sober during the months before his trial, but he, for whatever reason, doesn't want to do that for his wife as well. Either she on her own is like, yeah, you know what, I do need to get clean. I don't mind. I'll stay sober. There was also a question of if Rekieta had gotten a bail bond. And in case you don't know how this works in the U.S., when they set bond, it's usually a very high amount. It's like $50,000, right? Well, you're expected to pay $50,000. But what happens is that you don't lose all of that. So what you do is you go to a bail bondsman, and you usually have to put up 10%. It's usually 10% up front. So in this case, $5,000. And then you, with the bail, and if you don't violate the terms of your bond before your case is over, you get that money back, minus the 10%. So the 10% you put down as your premium is the money that you don't get back. But the remaining 90% you do get back. So what most people do is they go to a bail bondsman and they put something up as collateral, like a typical loan, or reverse loan or reverse mortgage. So you can say, I have a car that's worth $50,000. I will give you as collateral my car if you give me the $50,000, and then that's how you post bond, and then you only lose 10% of that to the court fees. So he did get a bondsman. He put something up as collateral to get $50,000, and now he's out. And he only had to pay $5,000 for the privilege. But if something happens, if he gets drunk on stream, if he violates the terms of his bond, if he gets arrested for like any other reason that violates his terms, then he's out the full amount. So they'll take his car, basically. If they don't pay him back, the bondsman will have the ability to repo his vehicle. So that's how the system works. So how does Nick not have $50,000? It's either that he didn't want to pay $50,000 up front, or he just doesn't have it. So who knows? The wife was collateral. All this talk about bail bondsmen, by the way, reminds me of this song, since I've been playing a lot of music this stream here. If anyone can guess what song I'm about to play before I play it, you get cookie points.
I can't feel nothing at all. Drug market.
This is called Repo, the Genetic Opera. I've never seen this, but I have heard this song a million times, and it's a movie about a society where everybody is really addicted to something called Zydrate. And they take out loans to buy Zydrate, and as collateral, they offer up their organs. So the repo man will literally repossess somebody's eyeballs if they don't pay their Zydrate loan back. And I really like this song. Just called Zydrate Anatomy. Anyways, that has nothing to do with Rekieta. Let's continue. So the Candy, Ohio County had announced or had replied to a couple emails inquiring about the body cam footage that in order to acquire the body cam footage related to the search warrant executed on Rekieta's property, they would need $3,000 at least, estimating it would take 50 hours at $60 an hour to get the footage. So I started up a crowdfunding campaign, and within 3 hours, it met its goal. I put the goal at $6,000 because what we received as an estimate was purely an estimate, and there might be additional time or additional fees associated that we can't expect. And I also wanted to have a little bit of money set aside for a specific purpose. Here's the catch. Minnesota is one of the few states in the country that does not have general public access to body cam footage. There is privacy laws that protect people. There is not privacy laws protecting houses. So we already know what Rekieta looks like. We already know what Kayla looks like. We don't need body cam footage of the kids. We already know what these people look like. What we want to know, what I want to know at least, is what the house looked like. So we're going to try and get the county to surrender the footage. And if they want to go through, and apparently they do this in Minnesota, they'll go through and censor out all the people. They might garble the text or whatever. They might black stuff out. I just want to see the state of the condition that house is in. And that's why we're going for the footage. However, the county has been very obstinate. I think that what's happening is that Rekieta is freaking the fuck out and like threatening the courthouse and trying to get the county to not release the body cam footage. And then meanwhile, my attorney, who is licensed in Minnesota, is trying to pressure them as much as possible into releasing the footage because the public has an interest in the footage. And it's going nowhere right now, but we'll continue to press it. And as I mentioned in the fundraiser, for whatever reason we don't get it and we don't have to pay this fee, the money will just be donated to a charity. If there's money left over, it'll be donated to a charity in Minnesota. So if nothing happens, I'll donate the money to something. But we're going to press them. And if Rekieta takes this to trial, it will eventually become public evidence anyways. However, there is another interesting technicality. Like maybe the county will deny us eventually or whatever. There is another way that we can get the footage and force them to release the footage. If one of the people directly related to the search consents to the footage being released, they don't have a choice. Only the people who consent will be unblurred, from what I understand, based on Minnesota case law, but they'll still release the footage. So that means any of the police officers, which is not likely because they'll probably get in trouble if they consent, or April. I have no idea how to get a hold of April. I have tried sending her a text message. I've tried contacting her on Twitter. Nobody knows where she's gone. Aaron M. Holt can't contact her. I'm making an offer right now. $1,000 cash money. All you got to do is consent to the footage being released. $1,000 in cash. It's completely legal. We checked to make sure it's completely legal for me to offer her money, and it's completely legal for her to take money in exchange for her consent to having the footage released. $1,000. That is my offer for the permission. There is another person, by the way, who could potentially consent to the footage being released. His name is Nick Rekieta. Nicholas Rekieta could himself consent to the footage being released, which would be an extremely smart maneuver. I right now am getting like thousands and thousands of likes and hundreds of followers just tweeting about Rekieta and spearheading this shit to try and fuck with him. And he could steal the thunder from that completely out from under my wings by simply doing what I am trying to force by consenting to himself. He could consent right now to having this footage released, and we'd probably get it in a couple weeks tops. However, he won't. If he was innocent, he's alleging that this was a grand conspiracy. The police were out to get him, that his stepsister was out to get him, that the pastor was out to get him. It's all bad blood. There was nothing wrong with the house. They were all clean. They were all tidy. It's all fake. Fucking prove it. All you have to do is contact Hardin and say, I will sign a consent waiver to have this footage released, and we'll have it in a couple weeks, and you would be completely and totally cleared. It would not complicate the trial. This is already in evidence. It's not new evidence. It being public doesn't make things harder for you. You don't have to fight it. There's literally, if this is exonerating footage of the state of the house, there is literally no reason that this should not be consented to. It would fuck me over. It would fuck my plans to have fun and cause drama over. And it would satiate everybody's curiosity. The children would still be censored. The children, like, even if they sent it to me uncensored, I promise you, pinky promise, that I would censor all the kids out. I'd blur them out. The only people who wouldn't be censored would be the people who consented to having the footage released, which in this case would be Rekieta, and the state of the house would be uncensored as well, because that's not privacy. There's literally no reason why Rekieta, based on his statements, should not want to consent to this. But he won't. And we know why he won't. I've challenged this. I've challenged him on Twitter publicly. I said, do it. Just do it. You know that I'm right. If your house was in the state that you said it was, there's zero reason to try and obfuscate the footage. But I know, I have a really strong feeling that he is actively working to undermine this process, actively working against us, which is why the easiest way that we could get the footage is April. If April consents, it's fucking Jover. Which is why I'm willing to compensate her for her signature. Basically, that's it. It's just her signature. I'm putting that out there. The other thing that we're doing for fun is that, from what I understand, in Minnesota, after you're arrested, you are then charged. You're arraigned or indicted. Your charges are read to you. You're read your rights. You're told what the potential maximum sentence is for your charges so that you understand the severity of what you're up against. You're entered into the process, and then you post bond. The next step is called an omnibus hearing, generally speaking. And this is something that varies state to state and by jurisdiction. But in Minnesota, quite a bit of stuff happens at the omnibus hearing after the first appearance. And in this case, Rekieta's omnibus for, I think both him and Kayla are in, because they're co-defendants and they're defending themselves. I think they're doing this together, despite the ethical quandaries of this. They're slated to have their omnibus hearing together in the end of August. So, generally speaking, in Minnesota, because they're weird and they have these strong privacy rights for court proceedings, those are also generally not open or not televised, and you have to attend in person. And the judge presiding over the case seems to enjoy making people attend in person. However, there is precedent, and there are motions that can be filed by interveners, which is a non-party to the case, to open them up to the public. And among the 8 codified prongs required to get a proceeding televised, one of them is public interest and the facility's ability to actually physically handle the number of people who want to appear. So right now, I think we have about 2,500 people who have signed this petition. 2,000. So it's getting up to 2,500. If you want to sign this, go for it. I'm probably going to, sometime soon, we're going to be turning this into a list of people who signed this petition. I might also include some of the comments that are left behind. Shout out. Oh, they deleted it. There was a video that someone had made, and it was just a guy in his car saying, "I can fix her," and that was it. Anyways, so the change.org position, all this is that we're going to put together a list and saying, like, look, there are 2,000 people from all over the country and the world who want to attend this hearing, and they literally can't. It's impractical for them to attend. And if they were to physically make the effort, no, petitions do not achieve anything. This petition is an adjoinder to a legal motion. There will be a motion filed by a Minnesota attorney into the court system. So we're not doing the change.org petition and crying and at Candy Ojai County Court on Twitter. We're doing a petition to supplement a motion that is filed in the court by an actual attorney, which is why it will work. The other thing that we're doing in addition to this, my point prior was that the courthouse literally cannot physically accommodate 2,000 plus people. The fire marshal won't allow it. Therefore, the most expedient way to resolve this issue is to allow it to be televised. Then, in addition to this, what we're doing, and we already have 2 of these, is I'm asking different attorneys to volunteer a notarized affidavit in support of the motion, indicating that they have a genuine and general public interest in attending the hearing, an inability to attend the hearing, and a legal scholarly interest in some cases in attending the hearing. And so far we have 2 of those. We have a notarized affidavit from a licensed attorney in Arkansas, and Legal Mindset actually went out of his way, signed an affidavit. He didn't just sign an affidavit, he actually modified our template that Hardin had written up and improved it and made it to his taste and what he wanted to say to the court, and then went out and actually got it notarized in front of a notary, and submitted this to us. So far it's the Arkansas guy, who is just some guy, and Legal Mindset. But we have a couple other offers as well. I think about 10 in total, including one guy who's like a weirdo who's like only licensed with like the Croy tribe. But we'll throw him in because it's DEI. He's a Native American. They're in the Candy-Ojai County. I mean, that's not a white name. That's stolen Native land. So if a Native American tribal attorney wants to represent his interests, goddamn it, he has a right to do so. Sean as well. Sean is he just has to go out. He's already agreed. He already has his affidavit. He just has to go out and get it notarized at some point. So we're gonna submit all 10 of those attorney affidavits, as well as a copy of all the signatures. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna take out all the offensive names and stuff, and leave in maybe a couple of the comments as well, and say like, here's 2,000 people. They want to attend. They can't. And here are 10 attorneys who swear under penalty of perjury as a supplemental affidavit that they have an interest in doing so. As far as Rekieta's ability to close the proceedings, not a fucking chance. In fact, somebody brought up that this clip existed, and we're gonna submit this as well, because we've actually reached out to Rekieta and asked if he would consent to the motion to televise the hearing. He didn't reply, but so we can't really say if Rekieta wants it televised or not. But we did find this clip. I asked Alyssa Clips to go and find this for me, and she did.
One of the
very quickly. So I'll just let Rekieta speak on this. I think he sums it up pretty nicely.
One of the reasons that video is critical and should be in every single courtroom in every single case. Video and transparency of the courts is something I'm pretty passionate about. 1, because I'm self-interested in making money off of them. 2, because it protects the people from judicial abuse or abuse by the state. And 3, because it protects the citizenry from lies by people about the abuse of the state. One of the reasons that video is...
But by the way, what an excellent point. And in this case, Rekieta is alleging abuse by the state. His representative Barnes on Twitter is saying that this is a unconstitutional search warrant, that this was done by the government because he's a nuisance to them and he says things that they don't like. This was spurred on by unreliable witness testimony. So this is clearly a defense case hinging on certain constitutional matters where the process was being used as the punishment. And as Rekieta says, it's very important that these proceedings be televised so that the state must be restrained in their overreach. They must be aware of what they're doing. So I think Rekieta makes a great case here that this is a prime example of a proceeding that should be televised. And he hasn't said anything to the contrary. So I think we'll probably win that handedly. Though, I mean, obviously the one thing that is more iffy is the body cam footage, which Rekieta could consent to at any time. It's very short. It's literally like a third of a page. It's like one page, and 2/3 of it is the receiving officer, and the other 1/3 is like the signature and like a checkbox. So it's a very, very, very short form. It would take literally a second to sign this and send it in, which of course we're open to. And he doesn't have to pay the body cam footage. We got the money for that. So it would literally just be his signature, and everything else is paid for and squared away and ready to go. And if April wants to do that, we would be willing to pay her $1,000 for it. For one signature. One teeny tiny. Oh, that's it. By the way, in regards to this, you might have noticed there's a familiar face
Self-interested in
on
them.
the
It
clip.
protects.
Because Rekieta was in the presence of Sean when he said this, Sean gets to write in his affidavit a little note that Rekieta personally told him that he believes all proceedings should be televised. So that's going to get to be entered into court as a signed, notarized affidavit that that potentially criminal Sean was literally there being told that Rekieta wants this. Fun times. Return the body cam footage or suffer my curse. All right. That's it. Balldo hamster. Be gone. Thanos snap. Total Gunt victory for one says, whoa, so this is the power of AI. And then there's a link to a AI website. And it's a model. Oh, it's the Nick. Okay, so someone has done an AI model of Nick Rekieta. So you can generate ceiling cat Nick Rekieta. It's Nick Rekieta in his room with a rat on his shoulder. There's a couple more ceiling cats. It's pretty good. I guess this is him with brown on his nose. This is him in jail with a black man. It's actually pretty good. It's even better than the Bossman Jack one. Oh, there's some covered in cocaine. Cool. Isn't AI wonderful?